Ruddle me this,
Ruddle me that,
hit me in the head.
with a baseball bat.
What are we ruddling?
Is it a fish?
No clue. I'm just muddling.
Ruddle me this.
Wasn't that a lovely little ditty there? Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ruddle Me This. I am, as always, your host, Taylor Ruddle, aka Brett, the Hitman Heart Disease. I am delighted to have you back for another week to check out the podcast. This week we are going to be interviewing a pretty good friend of mine and fellow comedian, that is Georgia West Cahill. I've known Georgia for a couple of years. We bonded over our shared kind of passion for the 90s and the pop culture and toys and everything like that that came with the 90s. She's also a massive fan of The Simpsons, which holds a very near and dear place in my heart and is a big influence on me with my comedy writing. So that was kind of the two. Well, actually, no, there was a third one. She's also massively into cats, which if you've ever listened to this, you'll know I'm a big fan. So today, Georgia came on to the show to tell me about the cutthroat dog-eat-dog world of doll collecting. We go on a little stroll down memory lane, talking about what it was like growing up in the 90s, trying to collect action figures and toys with our sort of limited supply of them available here in New Zealand, what some of the the local haunts were and the best places to get action figures and toys growing up in the 90s, especially pre-internet. And then she kind of educates me on what it's like being a doll collector in the modern day and age and what kind of environment it is navigating the online world of doll collecting. One other quick thing to get into before the interview starts, as I suppose I should announce this here, is I recently won an award in the 2023 New Zealand Comedy Guild Awards, which was pretty cool. Myself and this podcast were actually nominated. I was nominated for the Breakout Comedian of the South Island, and this podcast was nominated for Best Online Production. And in the end, I was indeed voted the 2023 Breakout Comedian of the South Island, which is a pretty cool achievement. I was nominated for it 2 years ago, did not win, came up short in that one. Then was not nominated the following year, and then nominated and won it this year. So I guess, to be honest, I think we all know why I was in the running for that. So a big shout out to David Correos for letting me cling on to those coattails. And that's basically the main reason I think I was nominated for it. So I do appreciate David taking me along on that tour. The podcast came up short, and unfortunately I lost out to the worst idea of all time with Guy Montgomery and Tim Batt. So I don't feel too ashamed to have lost to that podcast, as they mentioned it was their 10th year podcasting, and I think I've been doing this one for about 8 months, something along those lines. So we'll get them next year, I hope. We'll see how it goes. And I'm just really, looking forward to what 2024 is going to bring. I've got a few irons in the fire, a couple of quite exciting projects lined up. I won't say too much about them, just in case they don't pan out, as that can often be the case with this sort of freelance entertainment world. But one thing I can fairly confidently say is we are going to be doing some charity work for the Cancer Society. I've had a couple of meetings with them, and we've got some cool shows lined up that I think are going to be I don't know how to word it, like they're going to be soul fulfilling. Is that a word? I think they're going to be they're going to be shows for a very good cause, and I'm looking forward to being able to announce them. And then the other one, let's just say if you are somebody who identifies as being what I understand the kids refer to as neurospicy, I hope I'm using that term correctly, I've got a project in the works that will hopefully benefit you. So as always, keep an eye on the Can Do Comedy Facebook page. That is where all of our gig and show announcements go. So I do apologise for waffling on a bit. A little bit has happened in the old daily life, but let's get down to the interview. So everybody, please welcome to the show my friend and yours, Georgia West Cahill. Hello, Georgia. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me, Taylor. This is exciting.
It's been a while. We've had this plan sort of in the making for a while, so we finally got
Yeah,
this happen.
it's been in the works. It's been in production hell, but here we are.
Exactly. So, no, delighted to have you along. What are we going to be talking about in today's interview?
Well, I thought my Ruddle Me This will be about doll collecting.
That sounds
My
good to me.
all-time favorite hobby. How does that sound?
Yeah, no, that sounds perfect.
Cool.
The one thing I wanted to get in first is we've got to talk about our cats a little bit because
Crucial. We have to. Yeah,
very
we have
rarely do I
to.
get to talk about cats. So what is your cat's name?
Her name is Princess.
And we tend to refer to her as Prin for short, don't we?
Yeah, Princey, Prin, Primball Machine, Prinistry of Education. What else we got? Pranilla the Han,
Perfect.
Pranilla Queen of the Desert. Yeah,
So many.
she's got many names.
That's fantastic. And Harold's Prin.
She's about 9. She's 9 years old. Yeah.
Fantastic. A seasoned creature.
Yeah,
wise to the ways of the
she's an old
world.
girl. Yeah. She's pretty hard boiled.
She loves human food as
Smokes
well.
2
I
packs a
understand.
day. Yeah, no, she sounds like it. But yeah, no, she loves her food. She's a big girl. She's actually been on a diet.
That's
the
right. How
past
is
month.
Prin's diet going?
And she's doing well. Actually, no, I say that, but she snuck into the treat packet the other day and just went ham. She was fiending, and it was because she'd eaten it all of the treats in the packet, and the packet was still on the floor, and she was kind of like lying on it, meowing at me, and I was like, Princess, you ate them all. Stop being silly. And
So
I had to go to work, so I left for the day, and then I came back about 8 hours later. And she was still on the treat packet.
So she's not super happy about being on a diet.
She's not thrilled, but I've
can't say I
explained
blame
to
her.
her many times. Yeah, I've explained to her many times that it's for her own good. It's for her health.
That's true. Sometimes you got to show tough love to pets.
Yeah.
So then my cat is Henry. He is a orange cat, which anyone that has a cat or knows cats will know what kind of shenanigans he gets up to. He spends a lot of time on the roof of the house. He was Princess a street cat?
No, she's an indoor cat. She's an indoor cat.
Henry was a street boy when we sort of like adopted him or whatever. And I think when animals have lived on the streets, they tend to be like super food motivated. So yeah, he loves. He's much like Prin, but he's weirdly gotten quite skinny in his old age. So I don't know what my parents have done, but he's doing very well. We got a ton of nicknames for him. We call him obviously Henry, Hen, Humphrey, Hoss,
Hump is a good one.
Ears, Hungry Tom, and that might be all that I can remember. I think
Hoss is my favorite.
Hoss is great. It's one of my favorite words in the whole English language. So what I will do is I'll post a picture of both of our cats, and the listeners can check it out in the show notes. And that satisfies the clause in my contract of being allowed to talk about my cat at least once per season in the show.
Yep.
If there's any listeners that have cats as well, send a photo to my Facebook page, I guess,
Please.
and we might do like a cat Hoss of the week, a cat of the week. Okay, so now that we've got the formalities out of the way, we've ticked that box on the health and safety form. Let's get into the doll collecting. So, what is your, I suppose, your history with doll collecting? What is it in relation to your life?
I think it started at a very, very young age. I loved playing with dolls as a child. I think the first ever doll I got, I don't know, I think I already had hand-me-down Barbies at this point, but I got a Bratz doll. If there are any Bratz fans listening, it was the Steppin' Out Chloe, if you know the one. She's got the red, like, silk cami top and the flare jeans. She was a very cool doll.
Bratz
I think it just...
They're sort of unique. They had quite big heads, didn't they?
Yeah.
I very vaguely remember those.
They were very controversial when they first came out.
What were they controversial for?
Well, first of all, they were just very, very different than the standard fashion doll, which was, your Barbie and your Barbie clones. But yeah, Bratz, they were very thin. They had no noses. They had huge lips, big feet. You could actually snap off their feet. That's how you change their shoes. They don't
Oh,
come with
right.
shoes. They came with a
Yeah,
change of feet. And yeah, a lot of parents are like, well, these are a bit too sexy for little girls. These are a bit inappropriate.
because they were very
Um,
adult, weren't they? They had like cell
yeah,
phones. They would
I
go to
think
like the
they were meant
club.
to. Yeah, I think they were meant to appeal to more of the between like 8 to 12 demographic, which was like a gap in the market at the time, whereas Barbie was more for like young little girls.
That
Yeah,
sounds about right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah,
I guess we could get into a little bit of the history of Barbie. Was Barbie the
yeah.
first ever doll? Because that was what the movie seems to imply.
No, this is actually really interesting. Barbie was not the first fashion doll. She was most certainly the first like fashion doll to make fashion dolls popular, but there were quite a few in the 1940s and the 1950s. I think there were like the Madame Alexander ones and I can't remember the exact names. There were other like adult-bodied fashion dolls. But yeah, Barbie was really the first one that kind of changed the game. She
Mm,
kind of changed the game. But yeah.
that's right. The other one that I'm sort of vaguely familiar with was Polly Pocket. Is that a collectible one or is that something else? That's a kind of slightly
It's
different line, isn't it?
it kind of changed over the years. I think when Polly Pocket first came out, she was kind of meant to be like because at the time like miniatures were really popular. This is the early 90s. But miniatures were really popular. You had Lilith Pet Shop, Puppy in My
Oh man,
Pocket,
that's right.
those kind of collectible sort of that kind of thing. And I think she was meant
Yes.
to be that. Whereas in the 2000s, those that like collectible mini dolls became less, you know, fashionable. So I guess yeah, they wanted to make her more of like an actual doll that you could dress up, but also still kind of small and collectible and
Yeah.
whatever she was meant to be at the start. Yeah.
The the whole idea of doll collecting, it sounds weird, but my
Yeah.
only context for this is those Malibu Stacys from The Simpsons, where they have like, and I sort of know this with Barbie, they have like scientist Barbie and
Yeah.
oil rig worker Barbie, or whatever whatever her professions
Yeah.
are. Is that what people tend to collect? Is they'll do like a series of Barbies where each one has like a new gimmick, and then
Yeah.
like once they've I'm assuming once they finish that line, certain Barbies get retired and they become collector's items. Is that kind of how it works?
Pretty much. That's how it works. So yeah, there would be a doll that comes out like for example 1 year and that would be like on the shelves on the market for like a couple of years and then they'll discontinue that line. Sometimes Mattel release limited edition dolls for collectors and they're usually,
Ah,
like higher price point. They're a bit higher quality.
yeah,
Um
absolutely.
but yeah, yeah, pretty much.
I've always found that a bit interesting looking at like American collecting action figures versus collecting here because I imagine probably get like the dregs of the market shipped
Yep.
over to New
Oh no,
Zealand, don't we?
absolutely. I think that I would have a much bigger collection if I lived in America. Because all of the best dolls, the dolls that I want, like if I wanted to get them, I'll have to pay like $80 for international shipping, and it's just like it's unaffordable. So my dream is to go to America just to get dolls, just to go to like flea
Wow,
markets
that
and
would be
like I
cool.
don't know, like
Yeah, I feel so
collector
bad.
shops and antique shops and like get them.
I feel so bad for
Yeah.
my parents when when you're a child and this is the thing that if we've got a lot of American, well, we're mostly New Zealand listeners, but we do have some American listeners. So
Yeah.
one thing the American listeners might not quite understand is like how far New Zealand is from the rest of the world. So quite often we would still get the big toys here, but you would definitely not have as much of a range of
Mhm.
obviously what they would get in the States. And I guess when you're a child, you don't really understand, the economics of like shipping and things like that.
Yeah.
So you don't understand why we don't have like the specific whatever it is that you want from this. Like, for me, it would be
Yeah.
Pokemon figurines. That was my big collecting thing when I was a child. And yeah, I just feel bad for all the times I must have badgered my parents to get like, why don't they have this one? But it's completely out of their
Yeah.
hands. And
Really,
yeah.
yeah, that's really interesting you bring that up because like because yeah, I was really into Bratz as a kid. And I grew up on the West Coast, which is a very small
Even smaller,
area.
yeah.
And I think a lot of that comes down to like, is this going to sell in New Zealand? Now, here's the thing. Um, with the Brits, there were four main core characters, and each of them were a different like ethnic background. So you had Chloe, who was the white one. You had Jade, who
Chloe
was the
is such
Asian
a white girl
one.
name.
Yeah. You had Yasmin, who was the Latin one, and then Sasha, who was the African American one.
Right.
So at the Greymouth warehouse, which is pretty much the only like place you can get toys in the
Yeah.
West Coast, they never had Sashas.
Yeah.
They never sold Sashas at this mostly white West Coast. I find that really interesting. But I always felt like my collection was incomplete because of that, because I never had a Sasha.
Oh, that is devastating, yeah.
Yeah, it was devastating.
I think for the retailers that you tend to get stuff in New Zealand, the warehouse was the big one because I remember getting, Pokemon, WWE, whatever action figures we had. That was like always pretty much as soon as
Yeah.
we'd walk into the warehouse with my parents, my brother and I would be like, "Can we go look at the toys?" And then you
Yeah,
would just
yeah.
run off to the toy
There was
aisle.
there was no, I don't think I can ever top that kind of high when you're a kid and
I
your
know,
parents
right?
take you to the warehouse. I'm never gonna be able to recreate that feeling.
I still
Like sometimes,
sometimes. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, sometimes I go to the warehouse and I go down the pink aisle and it's just you try, but it's
The
just
pink
not the
aisle.
same. It's not the same.
I definitely do that. Not the pink aisle. I'll go down
Yeah,
like the whatever it is, the
the blue
Transformers and all
aisle.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And I used to do jokes on stage about how I looked like this kind of fine line between like he might be buying them for himself, but he might also have
Yeah.
like a niece or a nephew or something like that.
Oh my,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Whenever I go like to the warehouse and or whatever store where that has like girls' toys and dolls or like op shops, I always have to plan in my head that I'm a collector speech. Like if any parents are nearby and they look
mm,
at me judgingly, I'm like, oh no, I'm a collector. I'm an adult collector. I collect dolls. It's okay. It's not weird at all. It's not weird at all.
that's funny. How much of and then they're probably not even thinking about it at all, are they?
Yeah, probably not.
You could get like a business card or something like that you just push into their hands. It's like
Yeah.
all the frequently asked questions about
FAQs.
that like, hey,
Here's
what are you
my
doing
number if you
here?
want to chat some more.
I'll hook you up with some limited edition Sasha Bratz dolls. Did you overcorrect and purchase more Sashas when you got older to kind of scratch that itch at all?
No, I think I kind of, yeah, I'm not really into brats these days. I kind of appreciate them like from a nostalgic point of view, but no, I think I mostly love Barbies, specifically Barbies from the 80s and 90s. I think that's my niche. That's my
Were,
niche. Yeah.
were there any other lines of dolls? There was something called like OMG or something that I remember seeing. They
Yeah.
were modern though, I think.
Yeah, I find those ones really interesting. So those came out like I think early 2010s, mid 2010s. I think they were meant to, yeah, they're made by MGA, who was the same company who made Bratz. And I think they were kind of, they had retired Bratz by this point. They kind of wanted something similar that would appeal to the new generation.
Mm,
But yeah,
yeah.
I find those stills really interesting. Like that, how they sort of reflect modern fashion. I mean, that's what fashion dolls have really done, but not just in terms of fashion. They reflect like, the ideal body type of the time because they're, very, very curvy dolls. And they have like big lips and the big anime eyes and
The
all
OMG
that.
ones.
Yeah, the OMG ones.
Interesting. I always felt like that. Do you remember that meme of Steve Buscemi and he's like, "How do you do, fellow children?"
Yeah.
I feel like the OMG. It felt like the
Yeah, no,
slang was
that's
about.
what it is.
It felt
You
like
like
10
you
years
look
too
at them
late.
and it's like, yeah, you look at them and it's like, with the fact that they're called like OMG, which stands for like um something millennial girls. I don't know what
Oh, they've
the
got
O stands
millennial in the
for, but
name.
they're
Yeah.
meant to be millennials. These girls are 35 years old. They've got a job and a mortgage, all right?
They've got
They're
their
still
Harry Potter
dressing like
house
Billie
tattooed on
Eilish
their
though.
arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess because would you consider yourself a millennial?
No, I'm kind of in the in between. I was born in 97, so I'm kind of like what they call a zillennial, which is
Zillennial.
a zoomer and yeah, so that's a cross between a zoomer and a millennial.
Yeah, because
Um,
generally, if I need some information on like the zeitgeist, you're one of my first ports of call to knowing like just anything
yeah,
about young culture. Um,
yeah.
but I'm not even really that much older than you, so that's kind of concerning.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
a zillennial, yeah, because the like you were saying with the reflecting the culture and the dolls is quite
yeah.
interesting. Um, are there some trends you've noticed from the Barbies that your niche of Barbies that you don't see in fashion or anything like that today?
Um, oh, I gotta think
Because
about
there
this.
was a big controversy about Barbie's body type not being realistic or something at some point. This is me vaguely having vague memories of that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Oh, that's a big thing. Like Mattel have drastically changed Barbie. I think back in the 80s and 90s, there was a focus on like the fantasy and the glamour aspect. I don't think they kind of wanted her to be this kind of like unrealistic. They didn't want her to be an unrealistic figure, but
well, Barbie was
she,
aspirational, wasn't she?
she was aspirational. I'm
She could
not
be like
saying that,
an astronaut
yeah,
and a scientist and a
yeah.
princess and all these kind of.
Yeah, she can be anything. That's a whole thing. I'm not
Mm,
saying that, like having like that kind of body type was the aspiration. But I think
mm,
definitely now Mattel want to make her more grounded. They want to make her more realistic because that's basically what the parents wanted her to be.
yeah, yeah.
Mattel pretty much listened to all that feedback. We're like, okay, we hear you. We're gonna let's make our Barbies different body types. But my problem with that is that they're a bit too grounded.
Oh,
They're a bit
really?
too grounded. They're a bit too realistic. I would really love it if, they kept the diverse body types and the skin tones and what have you, but still made them really fun and really exciting.
Hmm.
I'd
I
yeah,
guess yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. The one I was going to say before as well with Barbie having all these different. I guess they kind of answered this in the movie, but would you say that Barbie
yeah.
was almost the first multiverse, one of the first multiverse characters, the
Pretty much, eh?
Barbieverse?
Pretty much. The Barbie verse.
Because I never quite. That's one thing that really confused me about the movie is that the characters are all called Barbie, but they all have like their job is kind of. I guess that's their given name, and then Barbie is the family name. I'm not really too sure, and
Yeah.
but they are all different, actually different characters or whatever in the Barbie movie. But I wonder if, like, when I was a child, I always pictured all these different versions of Barbie were kind of like it was like the same Barbie, and she could just do everything. That was kind of my impression of the law, if
Yeah,
you
that's
will.
interesting. That's interesting. Well, I think it kind of definitely like yeah, is basically a Barbie multiverse. And that's kind of I think how I saw it as a kid with my dolls. They were just like not this even though I had multiple Barbies or multiple dolls that were the same, like they were still individuals, even though
Mm,
they were still Barbie, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Um
absolutely. The what I quite found quite funny about the movie was the weird Barbie and that idea that you'd see dolls that would have like obviously like there was an
yeah,
attempted haircut on this one or like they just have like
exactly.
some
No,
battle scars and stuff like that from when the
I
dog.
had a weird Barbie. Because as I said earlier, I mostly had brats, but one of the one Barbies I had, she was my weird Barbie. My brother had like broken off both her arms. I was like, well,
Oh,
can I swear?
that's like the kid from Toy Story, Sid or whatever he was called,
Yeah.
the toy mutilator. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um
she was pretty much screwed. She was damaged goods. So it was like she's a weird girl. I put nail polish on her face and like cut her hair and like do all that and like in the sort of fantasy worlds I'll create with these dolls, like the brats, they were like the cool popular girls. And then my weird Barbie was the one who was getting bullied in school and she was the one
wow.
getting excluded and picked on, which is funny because that was me in school. I was the weird Barbie. And I was kind of yeah, projecting
You were the
my
weird Barbie.
problems onto
That's
these
quite
dolls. Yeah,
that's quite a good way to
yeah,
put it. The
yeah,
I think that's the one thing that I had this conversation with someone fairly recently in real life. I still very distinctly remember the day that toys or action figures weren't really fun for me anymore. Um,
yeah. I remember that day for me too. Yeah.
it'll take us back to your
Well, I remember it was actually I must have been about 12, and I went to the warehouse with my mum, my brothers, and she let us pick something out, and she suggested like, oh Georgia, do you still want a doll? Like you could maybe get like I don't know earphones or something. I don't know. I was like, no, I still want a doll because I saw this doll here, doll there that I really liked. I was like, oh, she's really pretty. I really want her. So my mum got me that, and I took her home, and like I was really excited unboxing her and I was really excited to play with her. But then I was holding her, and I was like, "This isn't fun for me anymore." Like,
It
what?
just hits you, eh?
It honestly hit me. It was quite melancholic because I was like, "Wow, this is actually, you know, things have changed.
It's
Like,
like
this is
the end
the
of an
end of an
era.
era."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think for me, I think that was the transition between like child playing with dolls and, you know,
Now you're an
being
adult
being an
collector at
adult
12 years old.
collector. Yeah, yeah. Well, I wasn't, collecting them, but I think that was kind of the start of it. I
That's the
realized
first
that
step. Yeah.
I just kind of liked having them rather than
Mm,
playing with them. I think,
yeah.
yeah,
I had a very similar experience. I used to play on a trampoline out in my sort of parents' front yard,
yeah,
and it was all little Dragon Ball Z figures and everything like that. And
yeah,
I remember getting all set up to play, messing around a bit, and I just remember thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? This is
yeah.
like, what
That
is
makes
what
me
is
want to
this?
cry.
But it's
I
like,
feel that.
I feel like it was like a similar. I was slightly younger because I moved to the city when I was 11, so I must have been
Yeah,
maybe 8 or 9 or something like that.
yeah,
Um, but the whole idea of us like projecting um whole stories and stuff like that onto our toys
yeah,
when you're children is like something that's like infinitely fascinating. And then the fact that it
yeah,
goes away is I'm kind of like what changes in our brain that we're just like is it something because you were talking about how you would project the problems you're going through at school onto the weird Barbie.
yeah.
I wonder, is that something that children do in order to kind of make sense of the world or to cope with what's
I
going
think
on?
so.
Is they
Yeah,
they play it out with their toys? It's really interesting.
yeah,
I wish I knew a kind of child psychologist. I could find out some more about that. But
yeah,
did you have because like I think as well um, we like I think this is what was so interesting about Toy Story the movies is like
yeah,
Andy's toys were all just random. Like they weren't from the same set. They weren't all like, um, like you would imagine that they were all produced by different toy companies, right? Because
yeah,
you had the dog,
yeah,
the Slinky dog, the
yeah,
dinosaur, Woody and Buzz were like different companies,
yeah,
and you just have this kind of hodgepodge gang of
yeah.
things when you're a child, but like they all kind of inhabit the same universe in your childhood
Yeah,
mind.
I love that so much. I wrote a joke about this in my stand up, but basically, yeah, you'd come up with this really like this like universe, so like this interspecies universe, and like yeah, you'd have a Barbie, you'd maybe have a couple of male dolls, some like maybe an old Spice Girl. I remember also like I used to play with pens. One year, I
Hens.
think for Chris pens, yeah, one year for Christmas,
No.
my auntie got me these like they're like these bendy pens that had some sort
Oh
of like
yeah.
jelly stuff inside, and for
Yeah.
some reason I added those to my doll universe, and I'd play with them like they were dolls, and I came up with like a backstory, and they were kind of part of the doll circle, even though they weren't dolls.
Do the pens have personality? Like, were the pens sentient in this universe?
Yeah, no, they were sentient. There were colors. There was a yellow one, there was an orange one, there was a pink one, there was a green one. I think the pink one was the really girly one. I think the green one was the one that got bullied, and I think there was always one in the universe
I
that
love
was
how that's the
getting bullied.
personality. Green gets bullied a lot.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'd even like used to like do a similar thing with my dolls or create stories, but not even with like
Hmm.
toys. I used to like go outside and pick flowers and
Hmm.
pretend those were like characters in like a fairy tale universe.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The
Yeah,
what are they called? Those like Pixar movies called Inside Out or something. Is that what they're
yeah,
called about all the feelings? I
yeah,
wonder if that's
yeah,
almost like you're kind of externally doing that. You're putting all of your different aspects onto these individual little
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
not what's the word I'm thinking? Not hominid. Homunculus was the word I was thinking, but I don't think homunculus is the right word either.
It's something
It's
else.
almost
It's
like
something else. We don't need to go into that. If you
nah.
know, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So then we got real deep in childhood there. The
Yeah.
collecting aspect of things like what does that look like now when you're trying to trade these when you're trying to collect these old Barbies? Do you have to go on the depths of the internet? Is it eBay? How does one go about kind of
Yeah. I used
acquiring
to
them?
I get them from various sources. If I ever see like a 90s or 80s Barbie from an auction, even if it's in rough condition, I'll get it because I'm like, well, this is still like, this is still neat to have. Um,
Hmm.
when I had a bit more disposable income, I used to buy them from eBay, like new unboxed ones, which is a really exciting time, and I love
Yeah,
them
it
so much,
is.
and I love doing that. Um, Not so much affordable now, but
Yeah.
that's something I used to do. I mostly do it through Trade Me now.
Ah.
Yeah, like every day I have like Barbie as like a saved search on my Trade Me. So like every day I sort of like check, okay, are there any 90s Barbies for sale that are in good condition and that are for a good price? Let's see. Let's see.
Are
But yeah,
they a
that's
bit
mostly how I acquire them.
are they a bit like stock prices and that certain Barbies will go up and down depending on the market?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's a hot stock at the moment in the Barbie market?
Definitely. Well, was for a while the Barbie movie dolls. Like they were already quite expensive to buy, like firsthand. But I would see people reselling them on Trade Me for like over $100, and it's like, yes,
So these are new ones that are based off the characters in the movie,
yeah,
and they're
yeah.
already up to what do Barbie dolls retail at like new these days?
It probably depends. You have ones that I think they're on the more affordable side. I would think they're maybe around like $20 to $40, whereas like more they're very expensive these days. To get like a nice quality Barbie that comes with a lot of accessories, it's around like between like 60 to like $85.
Wow, that's really pricey.
So like yeah, that's something that shocks me these days, that new dolls are very expensive.
Yeah. I remember
But sad.
we were talking about the AMP show. Just speaking of like the price of things going crazy. AMP show, if you're a New Zealand listener, you'll probably know what this is. If you're an American listener or overseas, what does AMP stand for? It's like agriculture and something. And it's
I don't
basically
know.
like, it's like, I guess it's the closest thing in New Zealand you'd have to a county fair in the States. Would that be fair to
Yeah.
say? Yeah. Um, like we were kids, it would have been a gold coin to get in, which was about $2, and now the
Right?
Christchurch's one is up to like $30, $40 to get into it.
$35.
It's
It's
really shot up, hasn't
crazy.
it? Yeah.
Especially
Um,
since I only want to go for the petting zoo and like maybe some MP show food. I'm still gonna pay it because I still want the experience.
well, that's the thing is, if people are willing to pay it, then the price isn't wrong, is it?
Yeah,
The other thing I was going to
yeah.
say, this is a big good podcast for this anecdote, and I imagine you'll understand it. But
Mm.
we were small children, my brother and I, our big thing was the little like sort of 3 4 inch tall Pokemon figurines,
Yeah,
and the I don't remember how much they costed, but you could buy them in packets of 2 and packets of 3, and they were
yeah.
shooting a commercial in my hometown. It was something to do with the Crusaders and like Wheat Bix, I think, or some kind
Yeah,
of breakfast cereal. And it was a few of them did it, and they had to kind of, I think they were just looking for like local students, probably about 5 years old or something, to be in the commercial. So they
yeah,
sent a thing home with the parents, and my parents were kind of asking like, is it worth doing? And my parents said however much they would get for us doing it. But to put it in perspective, they were like, this is how much this money is. If you do the if you do the commercial, you'll be able to buy this many Pokemon 2 packs or this many Pokemon 3 packs. And I was like, got it. um,
Was it
but
worth it in the end? Did
I
you
don't
do
remember,
the
I don't actually think
commercial?
we did it. I know my best friend did it, but for whatever reason we said no. Um, I think maybe it was on a Saturday or
No, it's
something.
okay, Mum. We don't have to work for it. You can buy it for us. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. No, what is money anyways to me, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so we are coming up on about 7 minutes left. Is there anything else you're dying to get off your chest about doll collecting? Anything else you want to get out there to the world?
I think I don't know. I would like to just say, I don't know. I feel like there's a perception that like people who collect dolls are a little bit weird. They're a little bit, like what's the word? Like you're in sort of like arrested development. There's still some childhood issues going on there, which like, yeah,
Mm.
that's true. But also like it's no different than like, someone into sports collecting like All Blacks
Yeah, you're
memorabilia,
right.
or
You're
like,
right.
like I don't know, Funko Pops. At least I'm not a Funko Pop collector. God, no.
Is there a pecking order of doll collectors?
There is a little no. Um,
Funko Pops are the green pen of doll
yeah,
collectors,
the green bin of doll
the
collectors.
ones who get bullied all the time.
Yeah, no.
Um,
But
the
yeah, I just sorry.
Yeah, well, no, that is quite a good thing to remember, and it's like It's so bizarre, the
I think,
hobbies that people find acceptable and people
yeah,
look down on. Like,
yeah.
why do people really care what someone else spends their money on? This is a
Yeah,
bit,
and also I think at the end of the day, I feel like it's just a natural human thing to like to collect things. Like another thing is like people who collect records. Like,
yeah.
do they even play them? Do they even use them? No, they're fun to have. Like, and I think it's just what people do. They like to hoard things that they like.
Collecting is an
Yeah,
interesting idea, isn't it? I wish I had
yeah,
something like I know Dave Bautista, the actor, he collects steel like lunchboxes. That's his thing that he collects.
yeah,
And I've
yeah.
never had anything that's really like grabbed me that I thought, oh, I need to start collecting these.
Well, who
Um,
knows? It might hit you one day, Taylor. It
maybe
might hit
maybe
you
I
one
need to
day.
maybe
Those
I need
like
to go.
those Pokemon figurines that you had as a kid. I don't know. You can hit up Tracy and see what
We
they're
s-
going
we
for.
still have them somewhere. I've got a little plastic treasure chest at my parents' house that I
You
don't
can maybe
imagine. What's that?
maybe find out how much they're worth because you can make some money. I don't know.
I
Um.
imagine I know a lot of them have missing tails and stuff like that. So I
Oh,
think they're
okay.
not but they're in pretty good nick.
Yeah.
And like we went to the Sunday market, the Riccarton Sunday market,
Yeah.
several weeks ago now,
Yeah.
and because that was my main when I was a child, the thing we wanted to go to the Sunday market for was bootleg Yu-Gi-Oh cards and also bootleg small Pokemon figurines.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was incredibly disappointed to find that all of the Pokemon figurines look like they've basically been sitting in that same container for the 20 years since we used to collect them, and they're all covered in grime. And it was like, and
Oh,
then they're
yeah.
expensive too. They wanted like $18 or something for them. It was crazy.
Yeah, for
So
bootlegs, that's silly. That's silly. But that's another thing with doll collecting. People will sell things that like are either not worth anything for like the hundreds, like for a very like expensive price, or they will undersell. They don't realize that it's valuable, so they sell it for like $5.
I
It's
think
interesting.
you were telling me about an absolute coup that you could have really had one over on someone, but you didn't. You kind of told them the value of what they were trying to sell or something once. Was that you I was talking to, or was that someone else?
Yeah, it probably was. I've come across that quite a few times on Trade Me where it's like this is like a really rare collectible and you're selling it for like, I don't know, $6.50. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you because it's a bargain and I want to take advantage.
I'm still
But
going to
at the
click buy
same time,
now.
I don't want to take advantage. I feel bad.
Yeah, what is the expression? There's no honor among thieves, I guess, right? If
Yeah,
people are willing
yeah,
to sell it for that much, then
yeah.
yeah, that's definitely a bit of a
But
moral.
you gotta game the system. You gotta game the system. You gotta,
Yeah. Well, that's the first thing you
it's
do when you find an old collectible is you find out how much it's worth. Like if they haven't
yeah.
even just Googled it, then they kind of deserve to get taken for a ride.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's a cutthroat game. It's a cutthroat market. It's like it's every man for themselves, you know. You
Exactly.
just I mean, and not that I'm saying that the doll collection community is like, mean and but at the same time, you gotta be ruthless
Well, if a
sometimes.
bargain's
You
on the
gotta be
line,
ruthless.
yeah, you
Yeah, exactly.
got to do what you
I've
got
been
to
in
do.
many a bidding war.
That victory, I haven't bid on things on Trade Me for a long time, but that victory of when the person finally backs off is a very sweet moment of victory, isn't it?
Right, but then I also feel kind of bad where I'm
Yeah.
like, do I actually want this? Should I have let them have them? Oh, I could
The
have.
red
This could
mist
have been like a
descended.
kid's birthday present. Did I ruin a child's birthday party? What have I
You just judge what their username is. If their username makes you
done?
think they might be kind of like like a bit of a dick or something, you're like, no, don't worry
Yeah,
about it. So
yeah. This person could be a Nazi. You never know. You never
yeah, exactly. All the swastikas in their in their name should have been a tip off for that. What a weird note to end the podcast on.
Oh,
Um,
sorry.
no, that was me who I don't know why I brought Nazis into this. Well, this has been an absolutely delightful podcast.
Yeah.
I appreciate you joining me. I'll plug
No,
all your
thank you so
socials
much.
and stuff in the end of the podcast, as well as
Thank you.
give us a quick 1 minute plug for your podcast.
Yes. So, me and my comedian friend Matt Lilly have a podcast. It's called Playtime with Georgia and Matt. So yeah, go check it out. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. We just have little chats, just silly little chats. So yeah, it's a good time. Check it out.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I just flubbed that last line. Thank you for joining me, Georgia.
No, thank you.
We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
And we are back. I hope you enjoyed that interview. It was a long time coming. I'd been trying to queue that up with Georgia for a while. We just couldn't get our schedules to kind of align. But I was very happy to make that happen. If you would like more Georgia in your life, you can find her on Facebook. I don't know if her page has an @ tag, but just search Georgia West Cahill, the comedian, and you should find that without an issue. And then you can find her on Instagram at, I believe it's Georgia WC the Girl. I'll chuck all of her links in the show notes so you can find that much easier. Georgia and another local comedian, Matt Lilly. I think she mentioned it in the interview. It's been a couple of weeks since I recorded it, but she might have mentioned that her and Matt Lilly have a podcast together called Playtime with Georgia and Matt, which I'll also chuck a link to in the show notes. You can also see it if you're on my Buzzsprout page. You can see it in my recommendations tab. I've listened to most of the episodes. It's a very enjoyable little podcast. Those two clearly have a very good level of chemistry. Some of their banter is very funny, and it's the sort of thing you don't get as often with a show like what I do, where quite often I'm not super close with the guests. So if you're looking for a very cozy sort of podcast with two people that have a lot of chemistry together, I recommend you check that out. There's also some just cool stories and funny bits, and I have to give it up for any of the local comedians that actually put themselves out there and start a project that's not just kind of signing up for the open mics every week. So all the respect in the world for getting after it and doing something to get noticed. As always, follow Can Do Comedy on Facebook to see what kind of fun gigs we've got coming up in 2023. I think at this point I can announce that we're going to be doing a Tuesday night show at the Austin Club, so the Laugh Cellar will now be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The official announcement hasn't gone up yet, but it's all but confirmed. We just got to, I think, figure out the first date. They're more or less going to be the same show. The Tuesday night show is going to be more of a comedy buffet with more comedians doing shorter sets. So it's good for a kind of a night out if you're some friends, or you just want like a little bit of everything. It's going to be a good kind of mix of performers. And then Thursday nights, we are turning it into a bit more of an intimate show where you have less performers. We're going to have 4 performers plus the MC. They're all going to do slightly longer of a performance, 15 minutes kind of length, so you get to spend a bit more time with them. And it's just kind of more of an intimate experience. Like if you're into the art form of comedy, then Thursday night will be the night to come along, as it'll be getting kind of experimental and trying things out, and it's all going to be in the room and interactive, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's a very cozy kind of lounge vibe. All of my social medias at Taylor Ruddle Comedy. You already know this if you're listening to the show. Give me a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to help me kind of climb the ranking. My podcast seems to be charting relatively legitimately this time. Seem to float somewhere between like 100 and 250, depending on the week. So yeah, any reviews you can toss my way will help me a lot, get me into a more stable position in the charts. So like I think I said, the Laugh Cellar was finished last night for the year. We're coming back on the 11th of January, which I think the same week we'll be launching the Tuesday show, but just keep an eye on the page for details. The Moi Moi quiz and the Bridie's quiz, they're going to be continuing all through the new year, so if you're regular attendees of those, just keep coming along. I'll be there. Chris will be looking after the Bridie's quiz. I think I'm looking after it on like the 2nd, or there might be Henry. I'm not entirely sure who's looking after that, but somebody will be there on the 2nd. I'm also going to be on Compass FM. I'm going to do my first kind of proper shifts there over the New Year's. I think while they're a bit quieter, they're letting us kind of volunteers stretch our legs a little bit. So I'm going to be on Compass FM, from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. on the 29th of December and the 5th of January. So if you're in North Canterbury and you're listening and you would like to spend a few hours with me over the sort of New Year's, tune into Compass FM on those days, and I will be spinning some records and attempting to say something interesting in between. Next week, I'm going to miss my Monday upload, but that is because it is Christmas Day on a Monday, and I don't expect many people will be sitting around waiting for the next episode of Ruddle Me This. So the release is going to be on the 27th, and that is going to be my State of the Ramble for 2023. It's only going to be about 20 minutes. I'm going to try my best to keep it short and sweet, because I recorded one of those from text, And man, it was long. It was a it was a slog for me to read through all that. So I'm gonna try and keep it about 10 minutes, definitely less than 20 for the 2023 review. So check back on the 27th. That'll be when that one drops. And then the week after, the 1st of January, New Year's Day, I am going to release a Q&A episode, which is I've been collating questions from listeners, friends and enemies alike. People have been asking questions and hurling abuse my way. I think you can visit www.taylorruddle.com/questions if you want to leave a question that I'll answer in the Q&A episode. I will also be posting that on my Facebook page as well, so just keep an eye out for that if you want to leave a question or hurl some abuse my way. Well, that's all for this week. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope you're having a wonderful kind of end of year. I know the end of year can be a lonely and isolating time for a lot of people. So if you're kind of in my circles and you're feeling a little bit isolated, send me a DM and be more than willing to have a chat or, catch up for a drink, something like that. If we don't know each other, then, give it a try. Why not? It's always nice to to meet new people, I guess. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just waffling on now. I got to get going. I'm going to go do a Christmas quiz for a little company celebrating their Christmas end of year function through G Quiz. So once I wrap this up, I'm going to get ready and go and do that. So thank you again for listening. I'll catch up with you next week. I think by the time that has happened, you will have had your Christmas. So I hope you have a lovely Christmas and look forward to all the exciting things in 2024. So all right, take care and we'll talk to you soon. Ruddle around.